There are a lot of questions circulating around Guild Wars 3, and a lot of people are wondering what kind of MMORPG it's going to be. And based off of some of the things that they've been saying, they being ArenaNet, some people were beginning to speculate whether or not this is even actually a real MMORPG. So ArenaNet has just announced something on their website that kind of goes deeper into what they've been talking about. They did say they were going to give us more information in regards to Guild Wars 3 as time goes on, and they just posted this on their official website, talking about no subscription fees, which we heard. And a lot of this right here, this huge wall of text you're seeing, is a lot of it is stuff that we've already heard, right? Talking about no pay to win, respecting your time and investment, the game being a horizontal game. All of this, they're just pretty much reconfirming. So this whole wall of text that you're seeing, nothing really new so far. But right when we get to point number 4, this is where some of the answers are becoming, or some of the questions rather, are starting to become a little bit more clear. Innovating and evolving the MMORPG genre. They go on to talk about the differences between Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2. To save you some time so that you don't have to read this whole thing, here's the TLDR. They acknowledge that Guild Wars 1 wasn't really an MMORPG in their mind. They, in fact, thought it was more of a CORPG. When we released the original Guild Wars, we branded the game as a CORPG, a cooperative online RPG. However, the branding never stuck, and everyone informed us that we'd released an MMORPG. We even won multiple MMO of the Year awards. We gave up on the CORPG angle since it didn't stick with players, and we simply embraced what everyone told us. We shipped a unique kind of MMORPG. Now, here's the thing. Okay, I'm an MMO guy, MMORPG guy, obviously, and if you are too, you know that Guild Wars Reforged, Guild Wars 1, is certainly not a real MMORPG. I would classify it as an MORPG. I think that's a more appropriate label. Remember, the first M in MMORPG stands for massively multiplayer online RPG. And there is a clear difference between a game like World of Warcraft, clear difference between a game like Guild Wars 2 versus a game like Guild Wars 1. If you've never played Guild Wars 1 or Guild Wars Reforged, this is pretty much how it works. You have a town. In that town, it's pretty much a hub. You do see some other players. You don't see a ton of other players, but you see some. You see a good amount of players running around. If you see your buddy in town, you can go see him, right? But the moment you leave town, you are in your own instance, completely alone, unless you're with friends, and then you go in there with your party members. And only your party members. It is certainly not an MMORPG if you are truly an MMORPG player, right? Anyways, they go on to explain what Guild Wars 2 is, and Guild Wars 2 most certainly is an MMORPG. They talk about the large scale, the giant scale experiences in an expansive open world setting, boss battles, map-wide meta events. Those are their large PvE open world raids that they pretty much have, right? Which we are all pretty familiar with. And then they go on to explain Guild Wars 3. Guild Wars 3 lands near the middle of the MMO spectrum. And what they mean by that is it lands somewhere between Guild Wars Reforged and Guild Wars 2. So in my mind, it essentially lands somewhere between an MMORPG and an MORPG, or a game that isn't really, it's more of like an MMO light or an MMO hybrid. We see that term being tossed around quite a bit these days, right? Honor of King's World, Where Winds Meet, all these would be considered MMO lights or MMO hybrids, but they're essentially saying it lands somewhere between Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2, which supports the goals we have for our movement and combat systems, while it fits the definition of an MMORPG significantly more than Guild Wars Reforged does. It doesn't try to replicate the large-scale gameplay pillars that so uniquely define Guild Wars 2. So the only positive that I can take from this personally, as someone that was hoping that this was going to be a real MMORPG or a massively multiplayer online RPG, is this right here. Significantly more than Guild Wars Reforged. So if it's significantly more MMOE than Guild Wars Reforged, then you know, how much of an MMO is it going to feel? But the fact that it's somewhere between Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 1 makes me, or gives me the impression that this is going to be another MMO light or MMO hybrid, something that I would personally probably end up describing or labeling as an MMORPG. Now, obviously, different strokes for different folks. Some of you guys don't care. Some of you guys prefer that, and that's totally fine. For me, I was personally hoping for an MMORPG, something larger scale. But, you know, this is, that's clearly not going to be the case. And I recognize that MMORPGs do have a spectrum to a certain degree. However, I also do feel like people just very much use that tag or call a game an MMO very loosely. Let's just say, right? That first M has, I just genuinely feel like that first M in MMORPG has kind of lost its significance, which I don't like. I don't know why. You could always just call things MMORPGs, right? It would still be a multiplayer online role-playing game, just not massively multiplayer online role-playing game. And then there's obviously counter arguments to that saying like, well, just because there's not a lot of people on your screen, there are a lot of people that play the game, a lot of people that you can play with, group up with if you choose to do so. That makes it massively multiplayer. Well, then if that were the case, then Path of Exile would be an MMORPG then, right? And Path of Exile is clearly not an MMORPG. So, you know, there definitely is a spectrum to it. But yeah, the way I kind of feel about this, guys, is it does sound like this is going to be more of an MMORPG. And yeah, I'm just personally disappointed in that direction. Not that they have to go in the direction that I want. You know, I want a mid chocolate chip ice cream, and it looks like they're delivering strawberry. The people that love strawberry ice cream and hoping for strawberry ice cream are going to be very happy, and I'm totally happy for you. I still do think Guild Wars 3 is probably going to end up being a banger game. ArenaNet has a fantastic track record. Both of their games are very good for what they are. So I'm still very excited about the game, but I would be lying to you if I told you that I wasn't a little bit disappointed with this being the case, especially because when I was listening to Colin describe his game, he was really talking about how they were trying to do something to evolve the genre of MMORPGs. And they were trying to implement systems from single player action RPGs and implement those into an MMORPG, something that hasn't really been done very well. And this just gave me the impression that, oh, finally, maybe someone does or is going to put a game together that is truly an MMORPG, right? But has those single player action RPG elements. It's kind of like, how is that even possible? Well, I don't know. I mean, it kind of goes with what they're saying, right? They're trying to evolve the genre. They're trying to bring those elements into the MMORPG genre, not the other way around, right? To me, this gives me the impression that it's almost like it's the other way around, where, you know, and that's what I would ask, you know, if this is really a small scale game, it's not going to be massively multiplayer, and they are leaning heavily into single player action RPG elements, but obviously online. Is it really bringing those elements into an MMO, or is it bringing MMO elements into those games? Does that make sense? Anyways, these are just my thoughts. I wanted to make this quick little video for you guys. Please let me know in the comment section below what you guys think, how you guys feel about this news. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitch. I am streaming MMO content daily. So yeah, I think that's going to pretty much wrap this one up, guys. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video.